that.
So let's talk about a couple of things like that the citizens get very angry about that they don't understand, like what we can and can't do.
Yeah, you're required to have your dog licensed, and the licensing is just to show proof of a rabies vaccine to the agency that you live in.
We do free microchips for pets all the time. We have an event coming up in March, from March 17th and March 18th. We're doing free microchips for the public, so come down, get your free chip. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Pinal County Animal Care and Control podcast. We did try to make this last week, but we had some technical difficulties. That was my bad. But we are here today, and we have our field supervisor, Alex Robinson, with us, and he's going to kind of go over state laws and what our animal protection officers do. So, Alex, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know who you are, what you do out here.
My name is Alex Robinson. I'm the field supervisor for Pinal County Animal Care and Control. I oversee the day-to-day operations of the officers, check on their paperwork, go over things, and then also take in the wonderful complaints from the community from time to time.
And so a lot of people really don't know like state laws and ordinances when it comes to their towns and cities. We hear it all the time. I didn't know I had to license my pet. I didn't know you can't have your animal running free at large, even if it's my front yard, but I have no fencing, stuff like that. So what would you say our APOs handle the most when they're out in the field?
The most they handle with complaints is generally, I'd probably say, at large. Whether it be ohm at large or a stray roam. The difference is obviously a stray roam is we do not know who the owner is. An owned roam would be we know who the owner is, and the neighbors have been calling it in.
And with that, what are the laws and what is at large and what is actually a confined animal?
So when your dog is confined to its property, whether it be tie out, not preferably, but or either a fenced in yard and it cannot escape, that is considered a confined animal. It is not considered at large. Or if it is on the leash, being held by its owner, it is not at large. Electronic leash collars are not considered confined, so that would be considered at large.
So my dog knowing recall isn't a form of confinement?
Nope, not.
What if I'm playing fetch in my front yard?
If your front yard is a confined space with a fence, then absolutely it is a, you can do that. That's perfectly fine.
Thanks for clarifying that.
But you can't, you can do it at a dog park, but not like a park.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if your dog stays right next to you and is trained to do that. It's technically off leash. It's at large. It
specifically states in there that you cannot have your dog off leash for any reason at a park or a school unless it is a organized kennel event. That's the only time your dog can be off leash at that time.
Right.
Gotcha. And why is that?
That's just what the law states. I mean, generally, because sometimes kennel clubs, they do things at parks that don't have a normal setup.
Well, I mean, why do we have the at-large law?
It's to protect the owner and other people on the street. I mean, you can never, your dog may just for some reason have a prey drive that, it may go after a person on a bicycle or a kid running. There's plenty of reasons why you
Somebody walking their dog down the street and they go after the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty common that we see all the time is someone's loose dog attack their dog, and now the owner of the loose dog has to pay the medical fees and go to court for all of that. So we don't do it to heckle you. We just do it because we've seen animals get hurt. We've seen people get hurt. We've seen people get bit. And with that, if the animal is unlicensed, you also get a citation. If you didn't know, it's state law that your animal has to be rabies vaccinated and licensed. If you want to kind of explain why.
So in the state of Arizona, you're required to have your dog licensed, and the licensing is just to show proof of a rabies vaccine to the agency that you live in. So whether it be the county or city. That law started back in the 1970s. Prior to that, we had, the United States in total had thousands of cases of rabies deaths from humans, or so I'd say to humans. Since then, the average has been 2 to 3, but I guess a year or two ago, there was 5.
Oh, wow.
We had 5 human deaths in the United States from rabies. So it is definitely manageable. Most likely, you're not going to get rabies from wildlife. You would most likely get it from your pet. That's where in most cases people have gotten rabies from.
And people don't think that their animal's going to get rabies, but we see it all the time. A cat is playing with a bat. Dogs pick up a bat, or cats are fighting with skunks and stuff, and that is a wildlife exposure. And if your animal isn't vaccinated, what happens?
So if your animal is not vaccinated, never been vaccinated, and you can't prove that it's been vaccinated, odds are that animal will be euthanized. There is a high likelihood of that happening. When we euthanize an animal, we have to send it for testing, and that's the only way we can test is if it has been euthanized. It's not rabies is not a live test. So we can test for titer. So if you don't know if your animal was vaccinated, but there's probably a good reason that it was, we can test for a titer, but
at the cost of the owner.
The cost of the owner. And then even then, that's not to say that the Arizona Health Department or the epidemiologist is going to say they'll accept it. So
right.
there's not, they don't have a really good, but the best way to say this, they've never really been a long-term study of titers within dogs for rabies.
Right.
So the only thing they know is for sure that if it's been vaccinated before, then there's a probability it won't catch the virus.
So for like just in general, 3 months of age, your dog needs to get a rabies vaccine and a license at 3 months. And you have to, the first one you get lasts a year, and then the second one you get lasts 3 years. So a license will go for 1 year the first year. If your dog is fixed, it's $15 here in the county. If it's not, it's $35. And then on your 3 year, that's the second shot. Everybody always goes, oh yeah, my dog has all its vaccines. Does it? And we don't have it in the system, and they always say, oh yeah, my dog's licensed, and no, it's never licensed.
Yeah.
And if your dog does get in a tangle with some sort of wildlife and you don't have your dog vaccinated, don't be mad at us, because we're just doing what the law tells us to do.
And also with that is with dog bites, dog and human bites, having your dog rabies vaccinated is going to save you a lot of trouble, because if you don't have it rabies vaccinated and licensed, then it has to come over here and do a quarantine with us, which can get expensive, and your animal could just do their quarantine at home.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to take it.
And we do not want to take your dog here. Even if it did bite you, we would rather it stay at your house.
Yeah, that's your dog. We don't like taking people's dogs, even when if it's like an at-large case and it's a stray animal. We do try to reunite animals with their owners. Most of the time, stray animals are roaming very close to home, and our officers do the best to look for like open fences or people looking for their pets to get them back home before we do impound them. And if they are impounded, we do have our impound forgiveness, so it's $35 to come pick up your pet. We just ask that you get your pet licensed if it's not already licensed.
Yeah.
So I think that's what our officers handle the most. They also have to deal with barking complaints, which
Yeah.
different ordinances for different cities. What it comes down to with barking is we're not going to take someone's pet just because it barks all the time. The best way to handle barking is going and talking to your neighbors. Usually it's just talking it out.
Yeah, usually it's there's usually some other issue underlined in there, but the best course of practice is to talk to your neighbor and be like, hey, this is when it's bothering me, see if you can't work something out amongst yourselves.
Right.
Because we do require you to have 3 complainants in Pinal County.
In the same neighborhood.
In the same neighborhood, on the same street, preferably, or, behind them. But yeah, we need to have the multiple complaints because of the way the ordinance is written, that the barking has to be in excess, and that's an opinion based. So someone's opinion of excess may be different than another's.
Right. And it's usually a neighbor dispute, or it'll go to the hearing office and get dismissed because they didn't prove that it was excessive.
9 times out of 10, it's a dismissal.
It's a dismissal.
And then we do have to do citations for licensing. So if we happen to come across your pet running at large and we get it back home to you, you do get a citation just to make sure your pet's...
But it's a fix-it ticket.
Yeah,
so
it's a fix-it ticket.
You're not going to have to pay a fine as long as you get your dog licensed before the court date or the hearing date. And even if you for some reason run into hard times, the officers are pretty lenient in giving people extra time when needed.
Yeah, and with at large too, we don't really cite for the first at large. We usually give warnings, and then we're
as long as there was nobody hurt, no property
Right.
damage. We don't issue a citation for first time at large.
Now, if it's a constant issue, this dog is always getting out, we've offered help, then yes, we will do what we need to. see what else.
They also, in the winter, it's always barking. In the summer, it's neglect.
Yeah.
That's the two. So in the winter, it's all barking because everybody has their windows open,
Yeah.
they can hear. And then in the summer, it's all neglect because the dog is outside, it's on a tie out, doesn't have any water, any food, they haven't seen anybody there forever, or it's just not how they would treat their dog, you know.
Yeah.
I would say
So-
9 times out of 10, it's not how they would treat their dog.
Correct. I mean, I'm not going to
They're technically not breaking laws if the
No.
dog has food and water and shelter.
and it can be on a
unfortunately.
tie out. There is no
Yeah.
law
Yeah.
against it. Not
And-
here in Pinal County.
And as far as the food thing is, we don't, even when we go out there, we don't expect there to be food out there
Right.
24/7.
Right.
I mean, odds are most people feed their dogs once to twice a day.
Right.
I mean, if the dog appears to be healthy and in good condition and there's water, then there's not much we can do about
Right.
it. And as long as it's got shelter is the
Right.
other
And
thing.
then shelter is a big one. You know, it has to have shelter to where it can stand up, turn around, lay down, basically do its regular life functions in the
In the
in
shelter.
the shelter.
Within the shelter.
I mean, if it's just some little tiny igloo that's metal and it's like hot outside and it's like an oven in there, that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But they can have a tie out. It has to be at least 6 feet long and it can't get tangled up. So it
And
has to
typically when we
keep
get
free of
calls like that,
tangles.
like they don't have like a good setup, we do have a program where we have an
Mm-hmm.
officer that builds houses for people and takes it out to them. We also can take out food.
Yep.
We have low cost vaccination clinics throughout the year. If you keep an eye on our Facebook, you can usually see when they're coming up. Also on the county calendar, we do free microchips for pets all the time.
All the
We
time.
have an event coming up in March, from March 17th and March 18th. We're doing free microchips for the public, so come down, get your free chip. But we do have lots of things to help community pet owners, and we're not trying to take people's pets. We're just trying to educate the community we have in being better pet owners. We don't want your dog here. We are extremely full. Like I said, if you're missing your dog, you're not going to get in trouble. It's a $35 fee to come pick up your dog.
Right.
Other programs we do offer people are, I did say the pet food bank, which is you come in, if you need food, the first bag of food is free. After that, there is a $10 copay. And
I think it's for a 50-pound bag of dog food. Yeah.
or cat food,
Or
if
cat
you need
food.
cat food. Yep. And then also we do have vouchers throughout the year when we have appropriate funding. We can't just afford to do it year round, unfortunately.
Right.
And with the vouchers, we don't ever really like highly promote it just because we have so many people try to take advantage of it. We like to give out the vouchers to the people that truly need it and are low income. And we have lots of people that'll buy designer dogs for thousands of dollars and try to get on our voucher list. So
Right.
we don't really advertise it, but we do have lots of programs we do for the public. Anything else I'm missing on?
On things we offer. Let's say that your dog accidentally had a litter of puppies. We can also help vaccinate your puppies, and then once they're weaned off of the mother, we would then adopt out the puppies and get the mother fixed at no cost to you. So that's another no puppy left behind or something like that.
That's
No pup left behind. Yeah, so we have that program
Yeah.
too.
So you have a mama dog out there that keeps getting out and coming back pregnant and
Yeah.
don't know what to do with the puppies, just reach out to us and we can help you with that.
So let's talk about a couple of things like that the citizens get very angry about that they don't understand. Like what we can and can't do legally.
So, for instance, I would say one of the things that people get angry at the most is abandoned calls.
Yes.
So when someone calls us and says, this dog, the owner hasn't been here for a week, and then we get out there, maybe the dog doesn't have water but looks healthy or whatever the case may be. We can only go off of what we can see and prove. So if we get there, dog looks healthy, doesn't have water, we are going to give that dog water. We'll probably give them some food, and we're going to put a notice on that property. We are going to monitor that day by day until we can prove that that dog is abandoned.
Right.
So if the notices are still there over days, and we kind of put the notices within different places, depending, wherever the most likely avenues of somebody, because somebody may have gone on vacation and then somebody's just coming over there, entering in the back gate,
Right.
giving the dog what it needs,
Right.
and then leaving. And sometimes it's in the middle of the night.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Sometimes that could be in the middle of the night. So there's been quite a few cases of that. Another one is sometimes landlords, when somebody's renting, they want us to come take animals because it wasn't within their lease, or they're getting evicted but not evicted yet, or it was this handshake deal that you don't have an eviction. We can't take that dog. Can't take that dog. If you didn't do a legal eviction, that dog's where it's supposed to be, unfortunately. Those are some of the big things I would say that we get complaints about.
We can't just hop in somebody's backyard and take an animal.
Can't do that.
We can't just go inside somebody's house and take an animal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not allowed.
We have to have what's called exigent circumstance, which
Right.
we believe that animal is going to die pretty much if we do not intervene. And 90% of the cases that we get when we get there, there's no exigent circumstance. So we have to do property posting. We do try to take care of whatever we can while we're there. Like if the dog does not have water, we will try to get that dog water.
Right.
When a dog's in a house, that's a little bit hard to do.
Right.
So that's probably one of the biggest complaints we get from the public when they think we're not doing anything.
Right.
But we are. We just have to follow our policies, and we have to follow the law.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I think, people see a lot of like messed up things, and maybe your owner is neglectful to their dog, but you have to understand, as animal control, we have laws to follow before we can do anything. And
Right.
if we don't follow those laws, if it does happen to make it to court, it will get thrown out if we don't do everything that we're
Right.
supposed to.
Yeah.
What else?
Another thing people get upset about is, because I used to be an officer before I became the director, but a lot of people would be upset if, say, they complain about one of their neighbors, say the dog is like at large, barking, whatever. And then when you're talking to the reporting party and they have dogs and you ask if their dogs are licensed, and then they get all upset
Yeah.
because their dogs are not licensed. Well, why is it okay for us to cite this person for no license but not you? Well, I was the reporting party. Okay, but you're still a pet owner. You know?
It was very common
So-
that somebody would report, and we would end up issuing citations
a fix-it ticket or citation to both parties.
And
so,
we had a case not too long ago where somebody was letting their dog in their front yard, and the neighbor was walking their dog off leash. Well, they got into a fight. So the officer who went there the reporting party was upset with the officer because they got a ticket. And they said, well, my dog was on his front yard, but it wasn't confined to the property.
correct.
And it got off the property
Right.
and it got into a fight with another dog. So
Yep.
they both got tickets for no licensing. They both got tickets for at large.
Right.
So I don't believe they both got tickets for vicious acts, but I mean, they very well could have.
Right.
Because there was injuries to both animals.
Right. And I mean, I'm sorry, but what's good for this person, upholding the law is good for you too. So
And
Equal.
that's
Gotta be
another
equal.
thing
Yep.
too with at larges. So we can only when we issue citations for at large, we can only issue citations for what we can prove.
right.
So unless the person who saw it wants to be a witness, because they didn't take pictures, they have to go to the hearing to say that they saw it. Unless we get there and the dog is out on this, at large, then we can issue the citation ourselves. We don't need a witness because
Right.
we saw it.
But if somebody keeps saying, oh my gosh, these dogs are getting out and they're always in my yard, always in my yard, always in my yard, take pictures of them in your yard. And then we've got solid proof that the dogs are getting out. So if we don't have anything to go by and we don't see it,
Yeah.
I mean, and unless the owner actually cops to it,
Yeah.
which a lot of times they will,
Yeah.
my dog got out, my kids left the gate open or something, It happens.
And another thing is ETA. A lot of people get upset if you can't be there right at that minute,
Right.
but they don't understand how big the county actually is. And fully staffed, we only have 10 officers to cover all of Pinal County.
Currently, we're at 8.
Or
Yeah,
we're at
so
8 right now.
we only have 8 right now covering the entire county, which is actually closer to the size of Connecticut than it is Rhode Island. We're
Oh, really?
actually bigger than Rhode Island and Delaware put together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I did my research. Almost
Yeah.
the size of the state of Connecticut, covering all that
Yeah.
area. So if we can't be there right at that minute, the officers do have to drive, especially on call.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the middle of the night and you're calling because there's a stray dog and they live an hour away, chances are that dog is going to be gone by the
And
time they go out there.
After
That's-
hours, we will not respond to a stray animal.
Yeah.
Nope.
Unless the animal is injured and you have eyes on it and you're willing to keep eyes on it until the officer gets there, then we're going to respond. But we're not going to. So after hours, after 5 p.m., we only respond to emergency situations, bites, injuries,
bites to a human.
Bites to a human.
Not a dog fight.
Yeah. And that's if it's not a bite to a human. Like if it's your own dog, odds are the officer will call you,
Right.
ask you if everything's okay, and then they'll respond back during business hours. But if it was your neighbor, well, we're definitely coming out there. If it was
Right.
somebody else on the street, we're going to probably come out there.
Right.
So.
And we responded, you said bites to humans, injured animals with eyes on the animal, and
Yep.
aggressive animals that are in progress actively attacking people that you have your eyes on.
Yeah, eyes on is the big thing because, for instance, most of our North officers live Florence, Santan area, Coolidge. So for them to go to a place like Mammoth or San Manuel, that's almost an hour away for them. So
It's, I think over an hour.
A little over an hour. So they have to drive all that distance to get there.
Right.
And if nobody's there to watch it, by the time they get there, that dog's gonna be way gone.
Right.
Well, even if you're just calling in a stray roam during business hours, the best thing you can do is keep the eyes on the dog because chances are that dog is going to either go back home or take off somewhere else.
Right.
And I would say safely keep your eyes on it from within your house, preferably.
For sure.
Don't be outside. And if there's a stray dog that's running around and you think it's aggressive, it's best to take your kids or whatever else inside and then just keep eyes on it and call us.
Right. And I do believe we're the only municipal agency because I don't think Pima has on call. And I know Maricopa County doesn't.
Yeah, they stopped doing it.
So for us to come out, we only have 2 officers for 2,500 square feet or square miles and 2,500 square miles. It's going to take them some time to get there.
Yeah.
And we do try to work with our police departments and everything and ask that they can stay with the animal or something if they can. Sometimes they can't. And so, in order to keep having on call and having these services, we have to only pick it. We can't just pick and shoot. It has to be technically an emergency. And then, that officer still has to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
After they were out since midnight and
Yeah.
they still have to go to work the next day. It's not like they get a break.
Yeah, I remember plenty of times getting called at 3 a.m. and working up until my shift started. And then just
Correct.
continuing
And that's
to do that.
really harsh. So, if it's not an emergency, don't call because
You can
you're gonna ruin somebody's evening for sure.
You can call. Yeah, it's just
Right.
if we can go out.
Right.
There is a non-emergency, the same 520-509-3555. You can call there and leave a message, and we will get the message in the morning.
Right.
And we'll write up a call, and we'll come out there and contact you, and
Right.
follow up with that call.
Yeah. It's just hard because, like I said, they still have to work during the day. They don't get a break just because they were out all night.
Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps up what our animal control officers do. I hope this gives you guys a better understanding of what we are allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do, and why we do issue out citations. We do have programs available to people if you are interested in getting help. Just call and find out. And I think that's pretty much, unless you guys had something else you wanted to add.
I don't think so.
Alrighty, well, let us know what you guys want to hear about next time, and we will get to it. Thank you. Bye.